This game is called Secret Hitler. If you've never played Secret Hitler, I assume you've been living under a rock somewhere because this is a very, very popular game. This is a very interesting social deception game. This has kind of got a lot of elements from the Resistance. It's got a handful of elements of Werewolf, if you've ever played those games. Werewolf, also known as Mafia, you may have played it in that regard. This has hidden agendas, hidden roles, and a secret Hitler. The idea of this game is that in a 10-player game, which is what we have generally played a lot of 10-player games, you have 4 fascists and 6 liberals. Now, at the beginning of the game, nobody knows who anybody is, but you will close your eyes, kind of like in Werewolf. Every fascist who isn't Hitler will open their eyes so that they know who they are, because they're the underdogs. They have fewer people in their party. And then Hitler will put his thumb out there to say that he's Hitler, but he won't know who his allies are. Then everybody will kind of do their wake-up phase, like in Werewolf, and you'll begin the game. In the game, the presidency passes left to right and just goes around the table. The president then has to choose a chancellor. You vote on that duo, and the reason you vote on that duo is because the president will pull 3 policies from the deck, discard one of them, and hand the other one to their chancellor to then enact. Now, if the president is liberal in this poll, he may drop a fascist policy to then allow for a liberal or fascist policy for the chancellor. And if the chancellor decides to enact the liberal policy, it goes here. And if the liberals can fill this up before the fascists fill up theirs, they will win. If the fascists fill up theirs, they will win. You only need 5 liberal policies. You do need 6 fascist policies in this case. Now, of course, if the president is in fact a fascist, they may just drop this liberal policy and the chancellor has no choice. He will have to enact a fascist policy. And that's when I start to say, well, you've always been voting for this particular person to be chancellor, and I get the feeling that since they've only enacted like 2 fascist policies, that you guys are in cahoots. As a liberal player, I'm trying to make sure I understand where the fascists are so that we can make sure that the team up of the liberals and the president and the chancellor are purely liberal. Now, that's still a good thing, even if we are both liberal and pull nothing but fascist policies. The reason is, in a 10-player game, when you put down a fascist policy, you get a special ability on every possible option. So, and actually, I should clarify, the president gets the policy, or gets the special ability. So even if the chancellor was liberal, if the president was fascist, then the president gets that special ability. I mean, if the president was liberal, they also get the special ability, but you have to watch out for that. The first 2 special abilities are you get to look at somebody's party membership, whether they are a liberal or a fascist. This won't tell you who Hitler is, but it will tell you at least if they're a good guy, bad guy. The third one will allow the president to pick who gets to be president next, rather than go around in the circle. The circle will, of course, resume, so if I choose someone across the table, it'll still go back to the person next to me. After the 3rd fascist policy is enacted, if at any point during the game at that time, Hitler is elected chancellor, specifically Hitler, the game is over, the fascists have won. Now, if they don't elect Hitler, and they still put down a fascist policy, the ability to kill a player becomes available. Now, if the fascists are in charge, they're going to do their best to just kill another liberal and kind of even out the playing field. But if the liberals are in charge, they may try to assassinate Hitler. And if they can do that, they will win immediately. And that's kind of how the game is played. Now, in a 10-player game, my thought on this has become soured over the course of like 60 to 70 plays. And it's no fault of the game necessarily, it's just the way we ended up playing it and how the meta sort of developed. Because there's a lot going on in calling someone a fascist when they're not. If you look at their party affiliation and you call them a fascist, the obvious recourse is to then say, no, I'm a liberal, so clearly you're a fascist. The liberals outnumber the fascists. So if it does come down to a fascist calling a liberal a fascist, and they start arguing, we can actually say, okay, great, you guys, we're not going to play with you. We're just going to make this an 8-player game because you guys are arguing. Now, in the result of you arguing, I don't know if you're right or wrong. I can just basically say, when you are the president, I'm going to vote no on whatever you suggest as your chancellor, because if we vote it down as a group, the presidency just passes on. You don't get to play anymore. And that is a frustration I have in this game, because to our group, that is the most logical and obviously correct way to get the most value if you're a liberal. It's just to make sure you don't mess with them, because you're still ahead. If I had to take sides on that, if I had to take sides on that argument and try to figure out who was the liberal and who was the fascist, I may make the wrong decision, and now I've X'd one person out of the group who happened to be on my team because I've written them off as a fascist, and now the fascists are only down by 1 instead of by 2, meaning that they have a lot more voting power. Keep in mind, too, that if the vote to say no on a combo is tied, it counts as a no, and it has to pass. So if we, for some reason, make it to the killing phase, I've already written this guy off, the fascists kill this guy off, they can just stop all movement until the game goes in their favor. So that initial argument means that I have to now ask 2 players to basically sit out for the rest of the game, because I'm not going to be dealing with them because they're arguing. So, what do you guys think? Am I just a totally competitive jerk that can't handle losing, and so I'm more willing to make someone sit out and I should just loosen up and lose a handful of games? Or do you think that, yeah, this game kind of fails at 10 players for that reason? I think it kind of does, at least for me. Some people are able to play, less aggressively. I'm a talker. I'm able to be extremely aggressive and talking a lot in the game. I can get certain people to believe me almost every time. Does this happen to you guys in any of your other games? Any games like Resistance where that kind of becomes the case? Let me know in the comments. Whether it's Facebook or YouTube. If you're on YouTube and you want to, like and subscribe, or give a thumbs up and subscribe, the bell icon is right down there. If you're on Facebook, share, like, and... No, just share and like. Yeah, that's all that's on there. And if you're on IGTV, tap your screen, join us on IG, and follow all of our cool stuff. And comment. Let me know what you think about Secret Hitler.